I want you to think about somebody you know real well in life. You know them, they know you, okay? And I want you to visualize their face in front of you, but before you visualize a certain person's face, I want it to be somebody that knows you well, and they know you well, okay? And they're also the kind of person that have said or could know things like, they have or could say things like, Wally, I need your help. Isaac, I'm sorry about what happened. Chris, I made a mistake. I hope you can forgive me. Think about somebody like that in your life. They've said those things, or you can imagine saying those things. Okay? Now, I'm going to assume you've got somebody pictured in your mind. Raise your hand if the person you pictured you consider overall a strong person. Okay? Raise your hand. Look around. Raise your hand if you pictured somebody you consider a weak person. See, it's always 95 to 100% strong. And I think it points out a fallacy. Most people would in most companies, most groups, most families, complete the sentence, vulnerability is a sign of... That's wrong. Vulnerability is a sign of strength. One night, Sherry and I were sitting at home, and the kids were in bed, and she told me something that was rather shocking, and I wasn't expecting her to say it, but she said,
Greg, I've really been scared to tell you about this, but I went in yesterday and I have a lump in my breast and I'm afraid I'm going to die.
Now, she'd been sick for 2 or 3 years by this time, and every time a doctor had suggested what she might be dealing with in the future ended up being much worse. So you can imagine what I'm thinking at this point. Sherry's got cancer and she's going to die young. But you don't tell somebody that. Imagine if I had responded in false light. What might I have said or done?
Oh, you'll be okay.
Oh, you'll be okay. Hey, it's about time for cheers. Let's see how old Sam Malone and his buddies are doing. Right? How's that dealing with life is difficult and we're all imperfect and use whatever happens? Not dealing with it at all. How might I have responded in harsh light? Say that again?
Not another thing.
Oh, not another thing. Boy, I'm wondering if you're worth it. You're a lot of problem here. How would that work? It might meet Jerry's goal of ruining the relationship, but that doesn't work either, does it? Here's what I said and did. I think you have cancer and I think you're going to die young.
Well, Greg, I told you I was afraid to bring this up. But now that I know you're with me, I know we can do anything.
That, to me, was a breakthrough communication for me, but also for us. Because I think in the whole time that we were dealing with the intruder was the first time I actually was willing to take off that damn mask and tell her what I was really thinking. Now, sometimes people say, no, you didn't really say that. I really did say that. And it really helped us draw together. And it would be what I call breakthrough light. Well, if you spend a little bit of time, see this bottom part, false light and harsh light, I consider that the minor leagues of relationship and the minor leagues of living. But most of us spend a lot of time, if not most of our time, and in some cases all of our time, right down there in the minor leagues. If you can spend a little bit of time in that half upper part of those four, some amazing things happen. I want you to take a look at that definition of what I call rich light. where people openly, honestly, and courageously, even the courage to go into some discomfort, where people openly, honestly, and courageously, with the right motive, address relevant and or difficult issues. Rich light is really where you want to be. And sometimes, you know, rich light can even happen without opening your mouth. One night after this situation, and by the way, Sherry did not have breast cancer, okay? It was a benign lump, and a couple weeks later when we got the results, we were able to celebrate that victory, and I was so thankful. But one night I was lying in bed. My back was to Sherry's back, and there was probably about that much space between us. And this is regarding rich light. And I remember in the middle of the night, it must have been 1 or 2 in the morning, all of a sudden my eyes opened up. And I realized the bed was shaking almost imperceptibly like an aspen leaf in autumn. And I figured, it took me another few seconds, and I finally figured out Sherry is lying next to me, muffling. She's crying, but she doesn't want to wake me up. Now, the hairy-knuckled male consultant at that point wanted to rip off the covers, grab my little portable flip chart that all consultants have next to their bed, not really, and say, okay, Sherry, turn on the lights, and say, Sherry, we'll come up with a problem statement, we'll brainstorm some potential solutions, come up with an action plan, and try to get some more shut-eye before sunup. That's what I wanted to do. But instead, I did this. I rolled over, and I hugged her like she was a big teddy bear. At that point, a torrential rain of tears. I continued to hug her. Finally, steady rain of tears. I continued to hug her. Sprinkles. I continued to hug her. Quiet. I continued to hug her. Sleep. I never asked her why she was crying, but we all kind of know why she was crying, right? It was life was why she was crying. But she didn't need me at that point to opinionate, provide commentary, not even to suggest solutions. She just needed me to know, I'm with you, babe. I'm with you, babe. We've got just about a minute and a half worth of final closing comments. Got a few minutes, it looks like, for a question or two. Any questions?
Sorry.
Yes?
You had such a long introduction. I think if people are willing, you can have another, 5 minutes, and we'll just cut into our break.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions for Sherry or me or both of us? Yes?
What do you say to relatives, close friends, particularly if they're all of your relatives and virtually all of your close friends, who are kind of invested in this harsh light, tough love, harsh light, false light kind of reaction?
Right. So what do you say to your friends and relatives who don't get this at all, don't get chronic illness, they don't get the kind of communication we're talking about? They come at you with all this false light and harsh light. How do you deal with that? Sherry, do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, one of them is that when I became ill, it was not the friends I thought that would come forward next to me and help me along. And family, I think one thing is understanding they are